The IMF on Tuesday projected an impressive 11.5% growth rate for India in 2021, making the country the only major economy of the world to register a double-digit growth this year amidst the coronavirus pandemic. The International Monetary Fund's growth projections for India in its latest World Economic Outlook update released on Tuesday reflected a strong rebound in the economy, which is estimated to have contracted by 8% in 2020 due to the pandemic. Revising its figures, the IMF said that in 2020, the Indian economy is estimated to have contracted by 8%. China is the only major country which registered a positive growth rate of 2.3% in 2020. India's economy, the IMF said, is projected to grow by 6.8% in 2022 and that of China by 5.6%. With the latest projections, India regains the tag of the fastest developing economy of the world. In this edition of The Big Picture, we will analyze how India's economy is marching ahead. Joining me on the program today are Abhinav Prakash, Assistant Professor of Economics, University of Delhi, Professor Charan Singh, CEO, EGROW Foundation, and Ajay Shankar, former Secretary, DIPP, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of The Big Picture. Mr. Shankar, let me begin the program with you first. Some positive news really as far as the economy is concerned for 2021 and 2022 through the IMF.
This is encouraging because confidence was beginning to return, both on the health front as well as the economic front. The December GST collections were quite encouraging. And so the IMF projections come as a further reassurance that we are getting back to normal. But I think we also need to bear in mind that the parameter we should be tracking really, and which makes sense from a practical point of view, is how quickly does the economy get back to March 20 levels in real physical terms? That's number one. And number two is how do we thereafter get into a higher growth trajectory, reversing the slight decline that was beginning to take place before COVID, and get on to, in my view, an 8% plus growth rate, but certainly a 7% plus growth rate, and sustain it for a decade or more. Because our real challenge and objective should be to start bridging the gap with China. And that means that if we grow at 8%, they grow at 5%, then over a long period of time, we'll catch up. And I think our ambition should be nothing short of that. So our focus should be on how do we accelerate the good that is about to unfold, what do we do, and then how do we get onto an 8% plus sustained growth rate for a long time, and also one which creates lots of jobs. So I would say that it's a moment of confidence. It's an encouraging moment, and we should also therefore be confident enough to take on the bigger challenge and think about it, of how do we begin catching up with China in the 20s in the coming decade.
Absolutely. We'll talk about how do we
catching up. I don't think we'll catch up in 10 years, but certainly begin catching up and bridging the gap.
Okay, how do we bridge the gap? At least we can start there. We'll talk about that in just a bit, but I want to take this aspect of health and economy forward with you, Professor Charan Singh. You know, the fact that on the health side, we've done extremely well over the last few months. There were some projections, from the West that suggested that who called it doomsday for India, really. They said by 2021, India is going to be in a world of trouble with regards to the pandemic. But here we are today. We seem to be the, giving a lot of salvage, giving a lot of rest and giving a lot of support to the world at large with what we are doing with our vaccine diplomacy and how we've shown the world how to deal with the pandemic as such. So since we are doing well on the health side, do you believe that that has a direct impact on the economy as well?
So you're very right. This predictions that were done around March and April were that India is not ready. Even later, India is not ready. There is going to be a devastating effect. The mortality rate is going to be very high. And look, the Prime Minister had said at one point of time, "Jaan hai to jahan hai." And the lockdown was done. Lives have been saved. And now we are able, India, for the first time, able to roll out a vaccine in such a short time. To me, it's again a medical marvel. and we should reward our medical fraternity and R&D who did this. And not only that, we are rolling out the vaccine for citizens in our country as well as distributing it in our neighborhood. Now the issue is, and it's a very important issue, while we are taking care of the health, you find the confidence returning in the economy. If you look at the statistics, the first quarter of the year, April, May, June, we were really down. But by July, August, September, confidence was back and high. Precautions had been taken, mask, washing hand, everything was being practiced, and somehow the lockdown was getting relaxed. And it showed in the economy. I can bet with you the results for the October, November, December are going to be more surprising in the positive sense as were those of the July, August, and September. And believe me, January, February, March will be probably taking us in the positive zone. The results which have come up now, even the IMF is saying this is much more than was expected. And that is why the revision upwards of the projection for 2021 is by nearly 2.7%, 2.7 basis point, which means 11.5. Now, the issue that I look at it is, obviously, the Indian economy is recording a strong V-shaped recovery, which many people were doubting earlier. Some said it could be K-shaped, we are not sure. But here, the India's resilience, the demographic dividend, the great policies, I would say, please excuse me, but I believe it now, quote unquote, great policies that the government rolled out at different points of time, sometimes taking care of the industry, sometimes MSME, sometimes NBFCs, sometimes Mudra, sometimes the hawker scheme, all that has started showing results. So this is exactly what I see is playing out. The confidence was constantly retained and encouraged by the government. The COVID vaccine helped us, and now a day has come when we'll be the fastest growing economy in the world, not only in 2021, even in 2022. It is right, we should aim at 8% growth. But at this point of time, when the whole world is sick and we are down and under, the two growth rates which we have, the fastest in the world, are enough to celebrate. I would only add one thing now that we have taken care of the physical health of our citizens, the labor which goes to produce output. Now we have to take care of their mental health. We have to be prepared so that in case there is any anxiety, there's depression, suicidal tendencies, all of us have to put our heads down and think together so that we are able to nurse our population back into healthy mind state.
Absolutely. All right. So, Abhinav Prakash, let's talk this projection of 11.5% growth for 2021 is a massive, is a massive projection. If we do achieve that, it will be a stellar feat considering the kind of situation that the entire world is in right now. But where is this coming from? What are the sectors where is the positivity really emerging out of?
Well, yes, Frank, this is actually a good news. So as Professor Charan Singh was talking about, that we have really managed the pandemic very well. And the two things will stand out. One is the political confidence of the people that they trusted that the government is going to do things in the right manner. The other one was the kind of policies we have undertaken. So if you remember, in the March, we started with lockdown because we did not know what is about to happen, because there were all the reports coming in that the pandemic might take millions of tolls, it might be very disruptive. So we hedged against the worst. We implemented a lockdown, which European countries did not do. So they're doing it now, you see them, right? What in India we did it in the beginning itself. Then we started, with the massive support program for one of the world's largest food program, transferring income into the bank accounts of the people. And then we supplemented that, and this is very important, with massive reforms in different sectors. So this is often forgotten in the discussion that the post-COVID economy is not the same as the pre-COVID economy because of the reform packages in different sectors, from coal, mining to space. We have changed the laws, changed the rules of the game, and we have did the reforms which are pending for decades in this country, including the labor reform and also the farm laws. What I'm seeing is that now we are going to implement our fiscal stimulus package. So I think this 11.5% might be an underestimation itself, because we have to wait for the budget in a few days, because the government tried to save its fiscal space instead of spending the money during the lockdown where the money would have gone waste, as we are seeing in the case of the American and the European countries, where they implemented massive fiscal stimulus, but now they're saying that the money went down the drain. Because when your economy is disrupted, when people do not have confidence, when pandemic is resurging, any fiscal stimulus is not going to help stimulate the economy. Now, we saved that fiscal space, so we were very prudent. So the government was very much criticized in the media, international media, that Indian government has the, the most, let's say, the smallest fiscal stimulus in its package. But now I think we are going to see the stimulus package and the growth will revive. And I think 11.5% might be an underestimation. Of course, we'll have to wait and see. But it's coming basically from a sharp revival in the private consumption. So you see the mobility indicators in India, they're back to the pre-COVID level. You see the agricultural demand, or let's say the consumption demand in the agricultural sector in the villages has not fallen that sharply, in the sense that there are lots of disparities. So you can pick up people whose incomes have fallen drastically, but overall, the decline was not that much as was worst. It was suspected, and in fact, agriculture sector has been growing quite well throughout the pandemic. So I think it's coming. It will be coming from the new investment once the vaccination program is rolled out. I think vaccination program has also given a huge confidence to the people, especially to the industry, that they're going to invest more and things are returning to normal. It will be coming from the agricultural sector. I think once we sort out this, what is happening over the farm laws, and when the farm laws and the labor laws start working in tandem with each other, we are going to see a positive investment cycle in the countryside, which is going to drive the economic growth even more.
Absolutely. All right, going forward now, let's take the discussion ahead. Mr. Shankar, let's also talk about areas that we need to watch out for, situations that we need to be wary of, and how do we prepare for that?
I would say that I would endorse what the earlier panelist said, that this is the right time for a big bang demand stimulus. Because till economic confidence and confidence of health had not come back to the extent it has come back, these demand stimulus would have not yielded the desired results. And we've seen a bit of that in terms of the response to the monetary stimulus or the liquidity stimulus. A fair amount of that has gone into the stock market, and we have a record Sensex, which is generating a lot of confidence, but not translating to that much in terms of the real economy. So this is the right time for a big bang demand stimulus effort, and we all look forward to positive news in the budget.
Right.
Now, this is a demand stimulus without requiring money from the budget, but some money will flow into the budget. So similarly, one can think of other such ideas, like I think on the environment front and air pollution, we could have a policy where we give, say, 50% rebate in GST for return of old commercial vehicles and scrapping them, so that we get clean air from the BS6 fuel, which is now being rolled out. And in the fiscal stimulus, certainly if government spends money on investment or in supporting sectors, then clearly a demand stimulus will be there. So the bigger the demand stimulus, and again, I would say that it is a good idea to what government has been doing to that do what you think is right, listen to people, keep your eyes and ears open, be willing to do a little more when required, adjust some things when required. That's the way we moved since June, and that's the way we should move forward. But I would reiterate that we need the high ambition level of not only being the fastest growing economy in the world, but beginning to bridge the gap with China. I think we can do it. We have the capacity, we have the potential.
Okay, since we are here then, Professor Charan Singh, let's take this particular aspect forward. Bridging the gap between India and China. How do we do that? What is it that we need to focus on, concentrate on going forward?